Welcome to the Pandemonium Witches podcast, where the AD is in the HD, the true crime is as scary as the ghost stories, and the hosts are as cunning as foxes. I'm Kat.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Em.
And I'm Meg.
Now on to the show. Hello.
I'm currently watching the birds fight over nothing.
Fight over nothing?
Yeah, they're I think it might be a leaf they're fighting over. I'm honestly not sure. So the cat and I are watching.
The cat?
The birds.
Huh?
The cat and I are watching the birds.
Okay, this one's fine. I can
I'm watching the cat clean himself.
So how was your guys' night?
Mm.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was so gay.
So gay.
We are so gay.
Yeah.
And of cleaves, man.
We saw 6.
I heard. How was it?
I'm so jealous.
So good.
Yeah.
So gay.
It was so good.
I'm so jealous. That is on my list of things to see.
It is so worth it. Like, so have you listened to the soundtrack?
Yeah.
So at least, and I hope they continue to do this. At least the ones who came, like the cast that came here, they did like cool different riffs, and they really put their own spin on the characters. So it's different than the soundtrack, which I love when they do.
Yeah, they make the character into their own thing.
Yeah.
Keeping majority of it, but
so
making it their own thing. I love it.
It was honestly more of like a pop concert, and I so where we were sitting, I was kind of watching, like we were sort of to the, like on the floor, but a bit farther back into the side, and so I was just like watching all of the like other people in their heads, and it definitely almost felt like there were a lot of people who didn't know what kind of show they were coming to. Because you got us and like some people behind us who were just screaming, like full rock concert screaming, at this wonderful show. I swear some of the people
as you should,
like exactly like that's what the show's designed to
exactly.
do. And I swear some of the old hoity-toities were just like, nah, stars.
Those are they go to every single show, doesn't matter if they know what it is or not.
Mm-hmm.
Pass holders.
I heard it was like 2 rows in front of us when who was it? Anna Cleves started twerking. I literally heard someone go, "My heavens."
Like, that's what she does.
That would be my heaven, yep.
I also lost it because they up on the stage, they couldn't laugh as much, but they were like, and we all know. And then finally I met Henry from, Catherine Howard, and it was silent, and you just hear my voice echo, "Gross."
Perfect timing.
There was this one.
The history teacher. Do you know who is it?
Henry the
Sixth,
Seventh's wife.
And it was silent, and then you just hear someone shout out like Elizabeth II.
They're like, if I think like Duchess of York or something.
Yeah.
I mean, her name was Elizabeth, but she was definitely not the second.
It's just that's the one who just
shouted out her name. I'm just shouting out a name. Shouted out her name, and up on the stage, you just see them go.
And they have to like go on.
They have to maintain composure as much as they can.
Because they don't have the benefit of Beetlejuice to Elizabeth of York. That was who it was.
Yes.
Rachel, your microphone is the only one that is super, super loud. Everybody else's is kind of normal. That makes sense.
Is this better? Is this better?
Is this any better?
Killer?
Yes. Yes, you can kill her later. That would be great. Fucking hell.
I think it would be a damper on the pod.
I mean, it would definitely be a damper on the podcast, especially considering the fact she went right up to the mic and went, "Excuse me," and it was like,
where is the mic on this thing?
Hey, good occasion, Aaron Norfolk.
Hello?
Okay, what about now? Is it
Perfect.
still really loud?
No, you're
Okay.
good. You're good.
I think it was because I had the mic too close to my mouth.
No, you're fine. It's
Not a
just,
mouth mic.
yeah, now Emily's too quiet.
How's that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, hmm?
He has another side quest for me.
I can see that.
He
So,
flew straight into the sun.
Mine is hiding currently.
I don't have one, but I do have a neighborhood cat that I have aptly named Fleabag. And he is cute. Also, I've bought a new chair. I've bought the viral crisscross applesauce chair.
Oh.
Yes.
And
Due tomorrow?
yes, it's due tomorrow. And I have officially changed my name across all platforms. The only thing I have to change is my books, which I would have to pay to change them. But
It's fine.
it's fine.
It's
I'll
worse
leave
than
it.
paying the federal government.
Yeah.
She got married.
I did.
To a
Man! That was fun.
That will never get old.
I don't think it'll
No,
get old.
not at all.
I think we found the sound clip for the next. for the next.
Little next
Yep.
time. I hope you guys like that though. I hope the listeners like the tidbits. I did get Rachel sent me an article last night about part of my story that we're discussing today.
Oh, I was like, I sent you a lot of things.
You did.
Which thing are we talking about?
You did. So we're discussing all things to do with snow, hiking, cannibalism, and murder. So I know. So we are discussing the Donner Party and Dyatlov Pass.
Ooh, as spooky and as spookier.
Uh-huh. Now, River doesn't know this. River is going to join us today. River's going to sit in. So you know that River's going to come in whenever they can, and they're going to do episodes when they can. But it's more along the lines of mental health. And we're all about wanting people to acknowledge that they need to work on their mental health.
Yes.
So, the thing with the Donner Party is they were stuck on a pass in the Sierra Mountains, which has been closed for decades. They nicknamed Highway 1 up that trek Donner Pass. They close it until about mid-March, end of March, beginning of April. People decided to go through the pass, and now they're stuck in snow. So Rachel sent me a video saying, I hope you guys don't get too hungry. So
Makes me want to go have a steak.
land pig is not on the menu, my love.
Some ribs.
Long pork, long pork, long pork.
It ain't hog boiling time.
It is not hot boiling time.
No. But it's always bacon time.
It is always bacon time. I love bacon. But in case you want to skip the entire episode and go towards the end, which I'm going to put a time clip here. People seem to like that. Of when I go into Dyatlov Pass. 1 hour and 1 minute. Too long didn't read. Donner Party is a group of American pioneers named for the expedition's captain, George Donner, who became stranded en route to California in late 1846. The party was trapped by exponentially heavy snow in the Sierra Nevada, and when food ran out, some members of the party reportedly resorted to cannibalism of the people who have already been died and buried. It was the worst disaster of the overland migration in California, Donner Lake, and Donner Pass. These notable places in California are named after this party because of such.
I'm doing my homework that I've pushed off for the last week.
Hmm.
What?
Same.
I mean,
My husband has been broken.
This is, I mean, he's been broken for a little while though, but
Yes,
even
but
more
he was
so.
in the hospital this week.
That's
he
true.
was. Did you see the meme that I made for him? They see me rolling. They hate
I
it.
did.
We're calling him Hot Wheels now.
Yeah, I want to get a Hot Wheels sticker to put on the back of his wheelchair and not tell him.
Okay, Emily, you have to make the decals to go on the side of the wheelchair.
I've already got it started.
Oh, I
They're gonna
love
be
that.
hot pink. They're gonna be a glittery hot pink.
You have to do the glitter one that I
Love it.
like. The pink one
Hot pink flames.
with the holographic. Oh, yeah.
Let me smack that butt.
So how about we talk about some really unfortunate cases of cannibalism? Yeah.
It's always interesting,
I mean,
especially first thing in the morning.
I just
Yeah.
took that off of the dog.
That is, what is that?
That is a toenail.
That is
It's
the,
nail casing.
Did you break another nail?
Mm.
Did you pull a cat?
Excuse
You
me.
did.
I do not break that many nails. I had two come out of the sheath. No, Emily's making fun of me because I had two ring fingers come out of the sheath. Fuck you. All right.
Yourself, you coward.
So, more than 155 years ago was one of the worst tragedies in American travel. It occurred during the westward migration of a few dozen families from Missouri to modern-day California. So this was like pre-gold rush, right? So everybody remembers the gold rush and all that fun stuff. This is the tragedy and the murderous survivalism of the Donner Party. Bum, bum, bum. California drew a steady stream of settlers in the 1840s, many seeking fame, while others looking to seize farmland and more opportunities for their family. In that time, travelers had 123 days to go 2,200 miles to be on the other side of the Sierra Nevada mountains before October ended. If not, they ran the risk of being stranded in Arctic-like conditions. So for the settlers that live in Illinois, they need to start by May 1st. The Donner Party did not. In spring 1846, several families from Springfield, Illinois, joined the westward migration to California. The families of brothers George and Jacob Donner and local businessman James Reed left Springfield on April 14th, 1846. Hold on.
Springfield, Missouri?
Springfield, Illinois.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm
there's
sorry.
multiple Springfields.
There's a
There's too
Springfield, Florida, Springfield, Texas, Springfield, California. Yeah. There's two Springfield up north.
Way too many.
There's a super famous one on TV.
I hate you.
I hate me too.
No, my family near Springfield, Missouri, and I refuse to go back.
I mean, I don't blame you.
It's the Midwest.
I mean, I have a friend in Springfield, Missouri, and I went to visit him once. Gave myself food poisoning.
It's a lot of flat land and cows.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
So you'll probably hear somebody new on these episodes, and that is Sam, also known as the librarian.
What's up?
So for
The gemstone? Sorry.
the research, I did the History Channel, I did national parks, I did a couple of different websites. Let me just pull that up. All right. So the Donner Party left April 14th, 1846. They needed to leave sooner than that because to get from Springfield, Illinois to where they were going at in Independence, Missouri, they need to leave a lot sooner than the 14th. Why aren't you loading? There we go. With an addition of roughly a dozen Teamsters and employees, this initial party was roughly around 31 people. So that's like the first group. not including the group that they got in Missouri. About a month later, the Donner Party family and the Reed family reached Independence, Missouri. So for the research for today, I did history.com, Britannica, a digital textbook review from the University of California, National Geographic, and the U.S. Highways National Service that actually did history of Donner Party. So I used a lot of government. Ow. I'm getting a new chair. I'm sorry. It's just adjusting. So, once arriving in Independence, Missouri, they arrived there on May 12th. So the first date was April 14th. So it took them a full month, if not a little bit shorter, to get from Springfield, Illinois to Independence, Missouri. Once they got there, they became part of a larger wagon train, but unfortunately, they started the overland journey late because of the month. They lost several weeks' time when an aforementioned shortcut turned out to be much more difficult and a much longer detour. This delay in particular proved fatal later in the trip once they reached the Sierra Mountains. Many in the party died from starvation and disease. Those who survived and those who went to get help faced difficult decisions about just how they were to survive. Their journey remains one of the worst tragedies in the American Western migration. Believe it or not, the game Oregon Trail was based off of stories just like this one, because they did have written They did have written documentation from journals, handwritten journals that people had kept while they were moving through the expansion.
I thought you were going to say that they had dysentery too.
Some of them did.
I know, but the way you paused, I was like, you get dysentery, and you get dysentery. Oh, look, you've died of dysentery.
You get dysentery, and you get dysentery, and you get dysentery. We all get dysentery. The families made good progress to Fort Laramie, which is currently in southeastern Wyoming, traveling roughly 650 miles in 6 weeks. That's not bad for covered wagons, considering how slow that they moved, and they were pulled by oxen most of the time. July 20th, 1846 was when the families and the wagon train finally divided. So went down the sack, right? Most of the train turned north towards Fort Hall, which is southeastern Idaho, and they used the well-known Oregon Trail to continue the journey west. This was considered a smart idea.
It was a trusted route. People
Yes.
knew what to expect on it. And so they're like, no, we're not going to take this new shortcut.
The Reeds, the Donners, and a number of others chose to head southwest towards Fort Bridger. The group had elected to use a shortcut to California that had been recommended to them by an unreliable guide by the name of Lansford Hastings. Do you guys know who Lansford Hastings is?
Didn't he end up leaving them?
A snake oil salesman.
Kind of. Yeah, actually.
However, he
However,
ended up leaving them.
He did. I'll get to that. It's coming. However, while at Fort Laramie, Reed had been warned against attempting the route by an old friend from Illinois who had just completed the west to east transfer through the Hastings cutoff. He said, don't do it, dude. Bad idea, right? The group chose to do it anyways. The party elected George Donner to serve as its leader, and its peak. The Donner Party would have a tune of 87 people, 29 men, 15 women, and 43 children.
I mean, they had to have a lot of kids back then because the death rate was...
The murder. And they were in 23 ox-drawn carriages and wagons. However, in early July, the group of 87 travelers in those 23 wagons were led by Mr. Donner, left the wagon train to follow the Hastings cutoff in California. This, however, was marked as a bad idea. I would agree. Because of the cannibalism and the murder and the...
They should have listened.
Magically delicious. A few weeks prior to...
I hope you're proud of yourself.
She is.
I'm not.
I also ate Lucky Charms for breakfast, so I felt it was parting.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks prior to their departure, a group of 60 to 70 wagons took the route, and another traveler assured the Donner Party it was a good route. This is Mr. Hastings.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. After crossing the Great Salt Lake Desert in Utah, the Donner Party stopped at Truckee Meadows, present-day Reno, to rest. Now, Truckee Meadows is still there. There's a sign that says Truckee Meadows, but it's Reno. And then there's Truckee, Nevada, which is on the line.
Yep.
They then continued shortly on after. During a snowstorm, they stopped and set up camp on the east end of Truckee Lake, which is now named Donner Lake, which is where the blizzard happened most recently and where a bunch of people are stuck. Their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Shouldn't have done that. This is 13. My demon box just went off. This is 13 miles northwest of Lake Tahoe. Side note, my cousin's family, like my third cousin, has a house here. This part of the lake is treacherous when it gets to storm and snow season. There are a ton of people that stay on the south side and the southwest end all year round, but not a lot of people on the north and the northeast portion. Okay? Where they were staying, Donner Pass is the northeast portion. Okay? So, Northwest Tahoe. They remained there during the winter months of 1846 and the beginning of 1847, and it was there that nearly half of them died from starvation and illness before the rescue parties were able to find them and rescue them. These rescue parties failed repeatedly to get to them in a timely fashion due to blizzards and deep snow. I wonder why. They took the survivors to Sutter's Fort, California, by the route that is now known as Donner Pass. But let's go back a bit, okay? In order to travel the California Trail, the route heading west from the middle of the country, you have to maintain a tight schedule. Migrants needed to begin their journey late enough in the spring, where the grass was still available, to feed the oxen, llamas, horses, what have you, whatever was traveling with them.
I don't think it was llamas, but
Llamas are in the middle of the country. I put llamas on there because 2 articles said llamas. So I was like, if 2 of them said llamas, I got to put llamas in here just in case.
it was mostly just the horse and the cows and the oxen.
And the oxen, yeah. I figured that as much, but I might as well include it because 2 of them said llamas. I don't want somebody coming at me and being like, you didn't include the llamas. Like, I'm sorry.
You turned him into a llama? He was supposed to be dead.
Right. The poison for Cusco. But, so they had to be early enough for grass to be available, but also early enough so they could cross the western mountains before winter, before any snow would set in, which was normally around October, November. You have a puzzled look on your face.
Sorry, I was looking to try and verify the existence of llamas. And I came across a random Facebook post from 2020 that linked to a WordPress article that someone wrote that is completely false and absolutely insane. The post says, little known fact about the Donner Party. The father was possessed by an alien entity who harvests their flesh to propagate its entity. No one knows where the entity went after he made him eat his family, but that's a story for the scholars, and the title of the WordPress article is The Thing That Ate the Donner Party.
I'm pretty sure the thing that ate the Donner Party was starvation.
Was
The Donner Party?
Was the Donner Party. Donner Party, party of 12.
Sorry, who knew that typing in Donner Party llamas would lead to such as this.
So it wasn't just the Donner Party. So, like, when I looked up people who were traveling from the east to the west, there were 2 articles that stated that they used llamas. That's why I said I needed to put it, because 2 of the articles said llamas.
Yeah, I trust you. I was just looking to verify, and apparently that's where the internet took a dark turn.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the llama part before, and like, so it's just kind of like, I'm not mad about it. Right, I'm not mad about it. I was a little confused.
I mean, it's not like they're going to Candy Mountain or anything like that, Carl. So just back the fuck off, man.
Charlie.
No, it's Carl.
Carl is the llamas, but Candy Mountain is Charlie.
Can we just appreciate
Yes.
the majestic that is my cat?
Yes, you should save that and post it on Facebook.
I saved it on
He could
Snapchat.
have his own OnlyFans.
He could.
Only whiskers.
Oh my god. So the sweet spot, going back, the sweet spot for departure was usually somewhere in mid to late April. Yet, for some unknown and ungodly reason, the core of what became the Donner Party leaving so late wasn't apparent until much later. They didn't leave their jumping off point at Independence until May 12th. So they're leaving Missouri May 12th. This was the last major pioneer train of 1846, and their late start left them with very little margin for error. One of the migrants wrote, "I'm beginning to feel alarmed at the tardiness of our movements and fearful that winter will find us in the snowy mountains of California." After reaching Wyoming, most of the California-bound pioneers followed a route that swooped north through Idaho before turning south and moving across Nevada, which was the safest route.
Mm-hmm.
You avoided all of the mountains. Granted, they were in the valleys, they were in the desert areas. There was still more stops along the way where they could actually get food and grain and stuff like that. Whereas through that mountain pass, it's a shortcut, but they could die.
But it's an untried shortcut.
Correct.
And when they realized that they weren't going to make it over in time at their last stop, that they were going to cut it close to, snowfall, they should have just stayed there and until after the snow,
right,
after winter, and
right,
then continued on.
Right. However, the dishonest guidebook author, which was Lansford Hastings, was promoting a straighter and supposedly quicker path through the Wasatch Mountains. I had to look up that pronunciation. Wasatch. And it was across the South Lake Desert, which is still there. Both those are still there. There's just one problem. No one had ever traveled the actual Hastings cutoff with wagons, not even Hastings himself. So everybody else had traveled through there, just not with wagons. Okay. Despite the obvious risk and against the warnings of James Kleinman, who was an experienced mountain man who was working with the Donner Party, the 20 Donner Party wagons elected to break off from the usual route and gamble on the Hastings back road. This decision in the end proved to be disastrous. I shouldn't have written this like an essay. That's fine. I should have just written this.
That's why, because that's what I do. I just do bullet points. It's short and.
Of course, Sam's a librarian. She understands this. I couldn't.
I know.
With my years of English and history, I couldn't.
Exactly.
The migrants were forced to blaze much of the trail by themselves, cutting down trees and forming their own trail because of the covered wagons, because most of them were super narrow. This caused some of them to nearly die of thirst during a 5-day crossing of the Salt Desert. Rather than saving them time, Hastings' shortcut ended up adding a month to their journey.
Because cutting that trail took
time.
It took the time that they were already short on.
Right.
You know, I bet someone looked over at them and went, "Yeah, nice shortcut."
Oh, I'm sure all the wives were saying that to their husbands the whole entire time.
Sure, it's going to save time, but think about the side effects.
Why did you
Cannibalism.
stop and ask for directions? Damn it, George.
July 31st, the Donner Party entered the Hastings Cutoff, which would take the group south through Great Salt Lake, which is now Utah. Hastings has claimed that this route would shave more than 300 miles off the journey. reality, the cutoff was added. 125 miles was added.
Yep.
Which
Some
ran
shortcut.
Yeah, which ran north of Great Salt Lake, and it would take the pioneers through most of the inhospitable country of the Great Basin. During the first week of the cutoff, the Donner Party made good progress. Hastings, who had promised to lead the migrants along the trail, left Fort Bridger in a different company of wagons. So he had snuck away. He had started with them, and he had snuck away in the dead of night and left with a separate set of wagons.
Because he's a coward.
Yes. And it fell to...
Coward, but smart.
Yeah. But it fell to Reed, who was the other father, to act as the company's guide. As they broke new trail through the nearly impassable terrain of the Wasatch Mountains, they lost about 2 weeks' time. This was supposed to be a shortcut. Supposedly.
Supposed to be.
Air quotes. Shortcut. By August 3rd.
And now it's taking them twice as long.
Twice as long. It took them a month extra to get through the salt flats. And then it added 125 miles onto their time.
Meanwhile, the people that they originally started with have already reached their destination by this point.
The other side of the mountains they have.
Mm-hmm.
By August 30th, after gathering as much water and grass that they could carry, they finally entered the Great Salt Lake Desert. A note left by Hastings had assured the party that they could be able to cross the desert in just 2 days. Whereas the journey took 5, and the party lost dozens of cattle, and several wagons had to be left behind. The pioneers lost valuable days conducting a fruitless search for the missing oxen and horses before beginning an indirect navigation to the Ruby Mountains, which is northeastern Nevada, which is the northern tip of the Sierra Mountains.
Yeah.
By the time the Donner Party reached Humboldt River, which is still there, it's a lot larger now, but it's still there, where the Hastings cutoff rejoined the main California trail, it was late September. So by this time, all of the migrants of 1846 were in California by late September. Mm-hmm. The Donner Party was still racing the weather to clear the passes of Sierra Nevada. Tensions, by this point, of course, are running high. October 5th, there was an altercation between Reed and a teamster employed by another family, which ended with our first death, Reed fatally stabbing the man. Dum, dum, dum. Stabbling. Yes. Stabbling.
He did a pokey with a Sharpie.
Yes. Some members of the party suggested that Reed be hanged, but instead he was banished from the company. Reed would continue west on horseback while the rest of his family remained with the Donner Party. So he left his family.
I mean, they didn't really kind of give him a choice. They kind of kicked him out.
Right.
It was death or cake.
Cake or death.
Cake.
I kind of love how his family was just like, "Oh man, shucks, bye."
Like, ain't nobody got.
Didn't he ride ahead anyways to I want to say he traveled ahead in front of them and like left his family like notes and stuff.
There wasn't anything that I found about the fact that he left notes, just the fact that they found journals and only the note from Hastings.
Okay.
Let's see here. So the migrants began to go into the Sierra foothills. They were already low on food. There are some indigenous people to this area. They're called the Paiute. They killed several of the Donner Party's oxen. And at this point, the members of the company had buried or removed all of their personal possessions, so it was just whatever they needed. They said they would come back later to pick it up. Because
we
they
don't know
didn't...
how that turned out.
It's supposed to be morning. Not supposed to be.
I mean, it is
funny.
morning.
Yes.
It is the AM.
Yes. Despite the cutoff debacle, most of the Donner Party still managed to reach the slopes of Sierra Nevada by November of 1846. They were supposed to already be in California by this point. By Halloween that same year, the exhausted migrants approached what is now Donner Pass and found their progress blocked by deepening snow. So at this point, there had already been an avalanche and a blizzard in this area.
And the snow's still coming.
Mm-hmm. Only a few hundred miles remained in their travel, but before the pioneers had a chance to drive their wagons through the mountains, an early blizzard blanketed the Sierras in several feet of snow. So the pass was passable just a day earlier, and then it became an icy roadblock. So most of the snow that had been compacted had turned into ice, and they had to get through it. The Donner Party had to retreat to nearby Truckee Lake, which we had already talked about, which is now called Donner Lake, and wait out in the winter in ramshackle tents and cabins. Much of the group's supplies and livestock had already been lost on the trail, and it wasn't long before the first of the settlers began to perish from starvation. I'm fine.
Do you need a cough drop?
I do. Honey? Where'd he go?
He ran off again.
Do what we do with a small salmon, tie a bell around him.
He had his headphones
He probably
in.
just...
There you go, Peggy.
I was about to say, he probably
Listen
just
to
like walk around just batting a bell
Damn it,
himself.
Bobby.
So. Gonna have to cut that out.
I am approaching you with sexual intentions.
Why?
I'm not sorry.
Dude, in front of my crab rangoons.
Right?
In front of my nip-nups.
In front of my cat. In front of my Little Caesars hot and ready pizza.
Not in front of my Christian Minecraft server.
Dude,
Anyways.
So in front of the, back to the, death and dismemberment. The murderous intent. So,
Back to the cannibalism.
Back to the cannibalism. Of the 81 people who became stranded at Truckee Lake, more than half were younger than 18 years old. 6 of them were infants. Yeah. Children also made up the vast majority of the Donner Party's eventual survivors. One of them, a 1-year-old by the name of Isabella Breen, who went on to live until 1935. Most of the party built crude cabins near Donner Lake. The party, whose progress was delayed by a wagon accident, the Donners, made a similar camp a few miles farther east on the trail near Alder Creek. Now, I explained to you that, like, the northeast is the part you want to avoid.
Yep.
So they're already in the northern area. The Donners are in the northeast, which is, like, the heart of it. That's bad. 8 days of continuous snowfall followed suit, during which time many of the oxen and chief reserve of food wandered off and became lost. November 20th, Patrick Breen, whose family had joined the party in Missouri, began a diary which continued until March 1st. Breen's account of the winter of 1846 would say as follows. Sorry. He would provide the only contemporary written record of the Donner Party's ordeal. So there were various notes and various notebooks that were found that are still with the Smithsonian, but his was the only one that was actually detailed. Like how many
because he didn't have nothing else to do.
Right. He put down how many people died, how many people went missing, yada, 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 yada. December 15th, Bayless Williams, an employee of the Reed family, died of malnutrition at the lake camp. He was recorded the first death of the lake camps, and although many others would soon follow. December 16th, more than a month after they became trapped in the snow, 15 of the strongest members of the party strapped on makeshift snowshoes and tried...
I mean, it's a good idea.
Right, and tried to walk out of the mountains to find help. After wandering the frozen landscape for several days, they were left starving and on the verge of collapse. The hikers resigned themselves to cannibalism and considered drawing straws for human sacrifice, and even having 2 men square off in a fight to the death.
I mean, at least they wanted to go out fighting.
Huh?
I said, at least they wanted to go out fighting.
Right. However, I like my notes. They decided to pull a big fat Greek wedding and roast them on a spit and consume their corpses. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I know, Sam, I'm sorry. The original set of people who had left, the hikers, were 10 men and 5 women. These people took nearly a month to reach civilization, in which 8 of the men had perished, and the bodies of them were eventually found, eaten, and bones picked. 2 of the men and all 5 of the women noted that the human meat gave them the energy that they required to continue onward.
I mean, it's protein, so I mean, of course.
Right. Following a month of walking, 7 of the original 15 made it to a ranch in the Sacramento Valley in California to help organize rescue efforts. Historians would later dub their desperate hike the Forlorn Hope.
I mean, it's accurate.
Right. During the Forlorn Hope expedition, the hiking party included a pair of Paiute Indians named Salvador and Luis, both of whom had joined up with the Donner Party migrants shortly before they became snowbound. These were the ones that killed the oxen for them and helped prepare the meat.
Yeah.
The natives refused to engage in cannibalism, and Salvador and Luis later ran off into the forest in fear that they might be tracked down and murdered once the others ran out of meat.
I mean, I don't blame them because, like, you're literally watching them do this to their fellow white person.
Right. They're like, it's only
a matter of time for it's only a matter of time before they turn to you.
Right. Indeed, when the duo was found days later, exhausted and lying in the snow, a hiking party by the name of William Foster shot both of them in the head. The Indians were butchered and then later eaten by the hikers. It was the only time during the entire winter that people were murdered and used for food.
I mean, at least they try to make a run for it.
Right. So the settlers from California organized a relief party, which left Fort Sutter, Sacramento, on January 31st, 1847. So this is still when snowfall in that region of the Sierra Nevada is still very, very heavy. So, like, you can't go up there without having chains on your tires and having the appropriate... You can't use sedans going up that pass. You have to have SUVs or trucks.
Something with weight.
Right. Otherwise, you just... Heroically struggling through the deep snow, 7 men reached the lake camp on February 18th. They took 23 of the starving migrants, including 17 children, back to the settlements. Several deaths occurred along the way. Other relief parties followed, but because of illness and injuries, it was impossible to remove everyone. All right. Ready for the death?
Always.
There's more. After dogs and
Oh,
cowhides
goody.
and various other items had been devoured, many deaths occurred. The survivors were forced to resort to cannibalism of the dead bodies. 5 of the migrants died before reaching the mountain camps, 34 at the camps or on the mountains while attempting to cross, and 1 just after returning the settlements. 2 men who had joined the party at the lake also died. The total of deaths was 42, with 47 survivors. So I know we originally said that there were 81 people. They ended up picking 2 of the Paiute Indians up, 4 mountain men, and 1 additional family. So it added up, right? Prior to their rescue, their supplies dwindled. The migrants stranded at Truckee Lake resorted to eating increasingly grotesque meals. They slaughtered their pack animals, cooked their dogs, gnawed on leftover bones, and boiled animal hide roofs off their cabins into a foul paste. Several died from malnutrition, but the rest managed to subsist on morsels of boiled leather and tree bark until the rescue parties arrived. Not all the settlers were strong enough to escape, however, and those left behind were forced to cannibalize the frozen corpses of their families and loved ones.
I mean, they ain't getting any deader.
All told, roughly half the Donner Party survivors eventually resorted to eating human flesh and cannibalism.
That's how you get windy boys.
Yes.
This is very true. Are we good?
Nasal drainage. I took my medication too late.
Ah, okay.
The ordeal of the party highlighted the incredible risks that were inherent in the Great Overland Trek, but it did little to slow the pace of migration. Indeed, even the survivors of the party encouraged others to undertake the journey, and later, to her cousin in Illinois, Virginia Reed recounted, "I have not wrote you half of the trouble.
I think trouble is not the correct word
Not
for
the
what
correct
she
word.
went through.
No. But I have wrote you enough to let you know what trouble is. Don't let this letter dehasten anyone. Never take no cutoffs and hurry along as fast as you can."
Don't take any of the cutoffs. Yeah.
Don't take a shortcut, right. Of the 5 months the Donner Party spent trapped in the mountains, so it wasn't just like a month or a week. It was from November, the end of October, beginning of November, until March.
Yeah. Basically, the whole entire time the pass is frozen.
Correct. Nearly half of it took place after they had already been located by rescuers. The relief parties reached the settlers in February. But since pack animals were unable to navigate the deep snowdrifts, they only brought whatever food and supplies they could carry. By then, the migrants were too weak to travel, and several died while trying to walk out of the mountains. So it took them 2.5 months to take all the survivors back to the original ranch.
Yeah.
So Kiddo is not joining us today. Their laptop broke.
That's sad.
Yeah. The last to be rescued was Louis Kiesberg, a Prussian pioneer who was found in April of 47. Supposedly half mad and surrounded by the bones of his families. Yeah, he ate his family. Whole family.
I got nothing to say.
Kiesberg was later accused of having murdered the other migrants to use them as food, but the charges were never proven.
I mean, because it's literally just his word.
Right.
Because he's the only one.
Right.
Only one left, so...
Right.
Who's going to say different?
So, the most famous of the survivors was Jon Stark, not Game of Thrones. He was the man who rescued...
No, it's Jon Snow.
Oh, right. He was a...
Stark.
Huh?
Eddard Stark would be the other one.
Ah, yes. He was a
Combined names.
He was a burly California settler who took part in the third relief party. So there were 4 relief parties. Each one took about a week to 3 weeks to do.
Yeah, because that's a long time on foot because
Right.
you couldn't use any kind of animal.
So he took 2 of the rescuers with him in March of 47. And he stumbled upon 11 migrants, most of them children. The 2 other guys just took one person each. And John was like, screw this, and just packed himself with kids. And was just like, hop on, I'm going to carry all of you. Just like...
because he didn't want to leave any of them
behind.
there.
Right. So, what he would do is he would walk, leave some of them there, walk forward a bit, drop the kids off, walk back, go and get more of the kids, and take them with him. So he would do like a pack animal situation.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. My God, Sam.
Is it wrong that my first thought was a reverse Santa?
Like a reverse Krampus?
I don't know.
Speaking of this incident years later, one of the survivors credited her rescue to nobody but God, Stark, and the Virgin Mary. Yes. Nobody Padre Fini Spiritu Santi.
Because, I mean, in that kind of situation, all you got left is your faith. Like...
Right.
Because, like, you fully believe you're going to die. So you're like, I got to, figure something out.
Right.
I gotta make peace.
Of the 81 people who began with the Donner Party's horrific winter encounter, only 45 managed to walk out alive. The ordeal proved particularly costly for the group's 15 solo travelers, all of which 2 died. But it took a tragic toll on the families. George and Jacob Donner, both of their wives and 4 children, all perished. Pioneer William Eddy, meanwhile, lost his wife and 2 children. Nearly a dozen families had made up the original wagon train, but only 2, the Reeds and the Breens, managed to arrive in California without suffering a single death. So you remember Mr. Breen I talked about earlier? Or Mr. Reed? His entire family managed to survive. So he had a wife and 2 children.
His wife made sure that all of her kids were going to survive and did whatever she could to make sure that happened.
That she did. So that being said, the old wagon trails is now today's Interstate 80 in San Francisco and passes through Sacramento along the side of Donner Summit, following the migrant trail to California. And that's what people rushed during the gold rush of 48 and 49. It's the main east to west interstate artery in Northern California, running parallel to the railroad, following the same route as the previous Wagoneer peoples used. So it was attached to Highway 1 and Highway 5 is Highway 80, which runs across the mountains.
Yeah.
Portions...
It's gotta be so haunted.
Oh, we're going to get to that in a second. Portions of I-80.
Just wait, there's more.
There's more. Portions of 80, like US 40 and Lincoln Highway in the Big Bend Donner area, are still open as a scenic route during the summer. Intense snowfall in this area, however...
Keywords.
Summer. However, intense snowfall in this area presents the same hazards as it did in the days of the Donner Party. And it is so heavy that the roads are closed completely during the off months, if not for the entire season. And that was the tale of the 81 table of the Donner Party. Would you like to hear about the hauntings?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
So, our family used to go up to Tahoe quite frequently because my 3rd cousin, once removed, owns a house up there, right?
And it's pretty.
Oh, God, it's gorgeous. Right on the water.
Weather permitting.
Mm-hmm. So we would go there during the spring and the summer when it's kind of warm. but not a lot of people.
Yeah, so that way you can utilize the water.
Right. There was apparently one time we went in the snow. One. I don't remember this. My brothers remember this very, very vividly. But my dad is the one who told me about this a couple of years ago. And you know my dad, his memory is kind of fading, which is fine. He was telling me that I was talking in circles about the man outside in the snow.
How old were you at the time?
6.
Yeah, so your brain's blocked it out. That's why you don't remember it.
No, not that my brain blocked it out. I got stuck underneath a car. My brother put Vaseline on the bottom of my snow disc, and I got stuck underneath a car. Because my hair used to be very, very long. Sam, you've seen childhood photos of me. I've shown you childhood photos of me. You're nodding because you agree. Do you remember when I had the bowl cut? It's because my dad That's why I had the bowl cut, is because my dad took his knife and just chopped everything off.
Because he didn't have an option to get you out.
No. My hair was stuck on the axle, like this. Which is fine. I blocked it out, apparently due to trauma, but apparently I was talking to my father, having a normal conversation about the guy standing outside, and he must have been cold because he was there all night. Do I remember this? No.
Because other trauma.
Yes. The spicy brain. Along with that, my ex-girlfriend has a house up in Tahoe. She's told me on numerous occasions that she can hear people walking outside and talking outside. There's no one there.
That she can see.
You heard something? No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Mm-mm.
That's true for Appalachia, and it's true for over there.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But no, there were people out there walking and talking. She just couldn't see them.
Nope. So we don't talk about it.
I'm not going to join that conversation.
Mm-mm. There are several times where I've driven up there to go visit friends, and several times where I've gone right before the off season, and I'm outside having a cigarette. You know, rebellious youth and whatnot. And you see just shadows of people walk past. No, you didn't.
Mm.
You don't see any of it. It doesn't exist.
Very quickly put the cigarette out, go back inside.
Yep.
That's it, I'm done for the night.
Right. That's only some of the hauntings that I've experienced. A few of my friends who work in truck stops up on the 80 and on the 40, because there are a few up in the pass that do close down when the season happens. That route is completely closed to truckers, to everybody. Once the season hits, they close down everything, they lock everything up, they leave.
Yep.
Nobody stays there. It's kind of like The Shining, how they lock everything up and close everything down.
Yep.
That looks Sam. Yes. Free. I've had several friends who worked, because I worked at Flying J's for a very small period, but it was more like a, can you pick up my tables kind of thing? I had friends who worked on the northern route. They would never talk about their job.
You had friends?
I know! Oh my god!
Before us? So rude.
Right?
Nothing happened before us.
Oh,
exactly.
So I had another story. If you wanted me to do it.
It's about murder.
It is about murder, but it is about suspicious deaths as well.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. It's called
Donner Pass?
No. Yes, it is another pass, but it's called Dyatlov Pass, and it's in Russia.
Okay, so like this whole time that like you've been telling me about this pass, I'm thinking of the word diet, like diet soda, and then love, like, you know,
No. No.
And I'm just like, that's just a fucked up name. And then you're like, It's in Russian. I was like, okay, never mind.
Yes.
I'm with you now.
Yes.
It's like all the murders that happen on Lover's Lane.
Oh,
Right.
there is that. It is on the things, but I have it.
The hash slinging slasher.
No, they're called the Lethal Lovers, and it was a lesbian duo that went around murdering
Sam
people.
got the reference.
Yes. Yes. I did not. I'm sorry.
It's a SpongeBob thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where the hell is Emily?
I don't know.
She
She
was in
wandered
bed.
off.
Did she have a walnut?
She is a walnut.
No. Her bladder.
Oh, yes.
Oh, the hash slinging slasher. Okay. All right. Accidentally cut off his hand. Jesus Christ. SpongeBob is dark. Who would have known?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it was Squidward that started that. So, I mean,
that's true. So the first story was in the 1850s, right? 1840s, 1850s.
yes.
The second story is in the 1950s.
It's the 50s, man.
It's the 50s, man.
Certainly a time.
I mean, it's apparently a good time for everybody, but not for these people. Also known as the Dyatlov Pass incident, the death of the Dyatlov tour group from Ural Polytechnic Institute remains one of the most mysterious circumstances involving a large death, and to this date, no one knows why or how.
Oh, I thought you were saying like tour group, like, oh, let's go tour where these people died and see if there's a spookies here.
They do actually have tour groups that go
I
up
was
there.
gonna
You guys
say,
wanna go on a tour?
Huh?
You guys want to go on a tour?
No, not in Russia. No, ma'am.
I
Mm-mm.
heard, do you guys want to go to war? And I was like, rather not, thanks.
I mean, all of that
Already
is
in
still
one, but
going
that's
on.
besides the point.
Huh?
We're technically already in one, but that's besides the
Okay,
Yeah.
we're not gonna discuss politics on this podcast. That is the one thing we can discuss.
What?
Everything else under the sun, not politics.
Damn.
It's true.
That's my one thing.
Nope.
Same.
I love discussing politics, but it's the one thing I'm not going to do on here.
Fair enough.
Let's see here. Only photographs of their final days, their last 2 days alive. A confounding scene at their campsite, and bizarre autopsy results were the only things left behind.
Weren't the results like super radioactive?
Yes, they were. Do you want to get into
I'm
it?
so excited about that.
Yes. Hit me with that radiation.
Yes. On
No.
January 23rd, 1959, 10 Russian hikers set out on a winter trek through Russia's Ural Mountains. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I do apologize.
Why is it always the winter?
Yeah, it's always winter. But it's always winter in Russia, to be fair.
That's valid.
You haven't heard that phrase? It's from 007. It's always winter in Russia.
In Soviet Russia, winter is you.
Have the good vodka, though.
The section of the mountains that the hikers were trekking to is named after the leader of the fateful expedition, Igor Dyatlov. What in God's name are you doing? Are you keeping that one crazy titty and then the other one's the same one?
Ow!
Stop trying to give yourself a black eye, dude. That's why you run down the stairs.
It doesn't reach, I'm fine.
Just me. If you jump hard enough, it will.
Yeah, we found that out at the Ragged Maniac.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like they become a liquid when you jump. They just everywhere. You didn't think they'd go that far. They're just like up above your head.
They get their own brain cells.
They do.
Do our tits hang low? Do they want down? So Igor Dyatlov was a 23-year-old student.
Yes, coffee.
He was studying engineering at the Ural Polytechnic Institute in Soviet Russia. He scouted the trip with 8 other students from the institute, all of which were in their early 20s. All the students
So
were
young.
experienced. Huh?
So young, so dumb.
So young, so dumb.
Let's go
No
on a
longer
winter
full of
hike,
life.
guys.
Right. Well, I mean, they
No longer
packed
full of
everything
life.
necessary. Huh?
No longer full of life.
Pretty much.
Womp womp. All the students were experienced hikers, as was the sports instructor, the final 10th person of the group, in his late 30s, who ultimately joined the expedition. About 5 days into the journey, one of the hikers, a student by the name of Yuri Yudin, say that 10 times fast. Yuri Yudin. Yoo-hoo. Big summer blowout.
It sounds like that toy that you flip
You're-
back and
you're-
forth that makes the
you're-
noise.
He decided to leave the hiking team and head back due to a sciatica flare-up.
He was smart.
He was very smart. If he
Made it out
His
alive.
body knew what was happening.
right, if he would have stayed with the group, he would have died literally 1 day later. I will get into that. February 1st, the 9 hikers pitched their tent for the last time, and in between the night of the 1st and the following evening of the 2nd, all the hikers would be dead. So it took them 2 days to die. They dropped.
That sucks.
Yeah. So they left, I think it was January 31st. They left him up at the hotel, which was in town. The entire hiking group had planned to send a message back to their sports club back at the college about 3 weeks after taking off. So when the club didn't hear from them by February 20th, a search party was created. Well, the search party found
that's valid.
Oh, yeah. Well, the search party found the tent. It was collapsed and completely covered in by snow. Inside were the hikers' belongings, which remained relatively undisturbed. The team found hikers' boots, clothes, equipments, everything neatly arranged within the tent, and food was sliced up on a plate as if the hikers were just preparing to eat a meal. However, in the dead of night, something caused them to cut their way out of their tent. During a blizzard, in Russia, in winter. We're going to keep going.
I mean, I can understand like having to cut your way out of your tent because your zipper froze or something, and you have to get out. But
Nope.
in the middle of a blizzard,
Yep.
no thanks. You're safer in that tent.
Right. So they cut themselves out of the tent. And then they began to flee the campsite while inadequately dressed for the temperatures outside. I'll give you a hint. What was still in the tent?
Their boots.
Wasn't someone in their underwear?
Yes, they were.
Because I mean, they were in their tents for the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The tent had been slashed open as a seamstress later observed someone had made a cut from the inside. So they had taken a knife from the inside of the tent and actually cut it out, and they had a seamstress who worked for the institute actually look at it. Over the
To
next
see if
few...
it had been cut from the outside or not.
Right, to
Yeah.
see if they had been
You can
attacked
tell
by
the
somebody.
Fibers.
Hmm?
You can tell by the fibers.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like, I can tell when somebody uses the wrong scissors on my fabric. Emily.
Because it pulls the fabric a certain way.
Not Emily using paper scissors.
Emily.
You see this woman just sitting there feeding herself egg bites like Dionysus.
No, that was a lemon iced loaf.
Still. She used paper scissors on my fabric.
Emily.
She's like, you can either confirm nor deny. And I was like, I can see it right here.
I have the
Listen, man,
evidence. I have the
I
evidence
didn't
in
know.
hand.
You didn't tell me they were the same color.
It's true. So I had 2 sets of scissors, one that was teal green on the inside of the handle and one that was all the way teal green. One of them was black and white with teal.
I was going to ask, were they both orange?
No.
And she told me to grab the teal scissors.
Which there's teal, black, and white, which is the paper scissors. And then there's the old teal scissors, which are the fabric scissors. So she grabbed the teal, black, and white ones.
I feel like there was just a lack of communication on this.
There was, and it was my fault, but still. Back to the case and the murder at hand. Supposed murder, mind you. All the things that add up, it sounds like murder. The first 2 bodies that the search party had found were those of students Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivoshenko. So I'm just going to call them Yuri 1 and Yuri 2.
Yeah, because even the last names were very similar.
They're very similar. So they were found several hundred yards away from the tent. They were lying in their underwear next to the remains of a fire. A medical examiner later noted that Yuri 2 had burns on his body and a piece of flesh in his mouth that he had bitten off of his own hand. Laying within the confines of his own mouth was the part that was missing. His knuckle. The searchers then found the bodies of the hiking leader, Dyatlov, and Zenaida Kolmangrava. So just Zenaida. One of the 2 female students on the hike, who was in a different location that suggested they were trying to head back to the tent. So they cut themselves out of said tent. Now they're trying to go back. Make it make sense.
There's no way.
No. Later, searchers also found the body of Rustam Solobodin. Slobodin. Rustam.
His parents must have hated him.
It's apparently a very common Russian name.
It's Russia.
Yeah.
To be fair, they had a guy named Rasputin, so.
I mean, he came out with a killer song.
But that was his last name, though.
No, there was one by the first name, too.
Okay, the Rasputin I'm thinking of, that was his last
The
name.
famous one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen.
Yes.
Hey, that's my coffee, you dick.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he has one. So,
Not the cat.
I mean, it is male cat, yes?
I thought Crush was a
Male
male.
Yeah.
Male cat still has sticks.
This is
Just no
my
balls.
coffee.
So they found Rustam, right? But he appeared to be trying to make his way back to the tent as well when he died. All 5 of the students that they have found thus far, they appeared to have died from hypothermia, which can cause erratic behavior such as paradoxal undressing, which I did have to look up, and it is an actual thing. When you reach a certain point with hypothermia, you start undressing because you think you're so hot. Not like Bagel Bites hot, but you know, muy fuego. All right.
Not the bagel bite.
Did you just say bagel bites hot?
She did.
Wait. Hold on. I got this.
She doesn't know about the bites. We're going to cut this part out.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
No, hold on. She's looking for it. Are you looking for the excerpt?
I'm not looking for the excerpt. I'm looking for the picture.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah.
Even better.
Even better. Look for The one with the dark background, white shirt.
Is the song stuck in your head now, Sam?
Baba Rasputin.
I could hear it just faintly humming to herself, and I was just like, yeah.
Also, Rachel, I found the elusive size 15 crochet hook.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, I want to make a chunky sweater with that.
Hold on.
She has. That is the plan.
Yeah.
But she had to find the hook first.
Yes. Emily had to find it in the old group. Was that in the old group? You had to go looking in the old group? I'm not in that group anymore. Are you still in that group chat?
No,
Wow.
it's completely closed out, but I just searched bagel bite and it came up.
Oh, good. So,
The internet times we live in.
yes. So,
Sometimes it comes in handy.
You know what also comes up when I search bagel bite?
oh God. What?
I don't think you're ready.
For this jelly?
I don't think you're ready for this jelly.
I'm gonna hate this, aren't I?
I don't know. I have the window open, but I'm also trying to look at the, oh my God. The Butterball turkey.
With the Cabbage Patch Kids.
I do run like a Butterball turkey. My legs are freaking bowed and shit. And I do have Cabbage Patch knees. They look like Cabbage Patch Kids on steroids. So, all these kids have died, right? 5 kids have died out of the 9. All right? There's still the 10th one, which is at the hotel. He's safe.
Being smart.
He's being smart. He had a sciatica flare up and he goes, you know what, guys? I think I'm just going to stay right here. And everybody's like, whatever, you're a loser. And he's just like, no, I'm going to stay here.
It's a blizzard outside. I'ma stay inside.
Smart man.
I'll catch up with y'all later.
So they found 5 of the 4 bodies. There's still 4 bodies missing. Where are they? Glad you asked. Took them months
Did they
to find
eat
them. No. Took them
Oh,
months
thank
to
God.
find them because they had to wait for the snow to melt.
I mean, that makes sense.
Sam, there was a
They get
blizzard.
under the snow?
It was a blizzard.
Oh, okay, like an active blizzard. I thought, I was like, how did they get under the snow?
They got under the snow. They got
They
under
dug.
the
There was
snow.
more snow.
They dug a snow den.
Yeah.
Months later, once the snow melted, investigators and indigenous Mansi hunters investigated and discovered the remains of what appeared to be a snow den. Inside, rescue workers found the bodies of Alexander Kolatov, Nikolai Thibault Brignoel, sports instructor Semyon Zolotarov, and Lyudmila Dobamina, the second female student on the trip. The bodies of the remaining hikers. They had more unexplainable injuries than the prior 4. Would you like to hear about them?
Yes.
Okay. One had a fractured skull. Another had a subsequent twisted neck. Twisted neck. 2 were missing their eyes. And then there was the body of the female whose tongue had been forcefully removed from her mouth.
Ha!
I felt the bottom of my tongue. I don't like it.
No, I don't like that at all.
I'd rather have my eyes gouged. Thanks.
For 3 of these bodies, the cause was not hypothermia.
I wonder.
The second of the bodies, Nikolai, had a skull fracture so severe that there were pieces of bone scattered within his brain. Whereas the second 2, Simeon and Lyudmila, had crushed chests.
Yeah,
Both
that'll do it.
both of the later two, their eye sockets were empty. So the woman who had no tongue also had no eyeballs.
Oh. You didn't include that part.
Sleepy Hollow episode.
What, Sam?
This is a Sleepy Hollow episode.
No eyes, no tongue. She still had her ears.
No violence, no crimes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure there was
Much
violence.
crime.
Quite sure there was violence.
I'm quite sure too, because the plot thickens.
Of course it does.
After the
Thickens
hikers...
like Jello.
Right. Oh, I wanted pudding so bad last night, but we didn't have any and I was so angry. Continuing. After the hikers' corpses were discovered, an investigation was opened by Soviet authorities, and it was determined that 6 of the bodies had died of hypothermia, which we had already discussed the previous 5.
Yeah, because exposure to the elements.
Whereas 3 were murdered by physical trauma. Murdered.
Catastrophic head injury. That was weird. I did it on mine. I don't know.
I have no idea.
But it's not doing anything else for me. I don't know. So traumatic,
Mm-hmm.
catastrophic, fatal brain injury.
Mhm.
And then 2 of them literally had their chests caved in.
So we're getting
Yeah,
that.
like I'm pretty sure those are what killed them, not the elements.
Right. So they're in the snow den, right? The remaining 4, 5.
4.
4. 1 had the skull damage, 2 with severe chest trauma, and 1 with a small crack in his skull. So even with the small crack in his skull, he still could have survived because it was just a hairline crack. Okay. 4 of the bodies were found lying in running water in a creek. 3 of the 4 had damaged soft tissue to the head and the face. 3 of the bodies had missing eyes, not just the 2 in the snow den, but there was another body later in the original 5 that had no eyeballs. And 1 had missing eyebrows.
Because we just out here shaving eyebrows too. Wait. So like
Eyebrow bones or like the physical
eyebrow.
eyebrows?
did they just like did they actually cut them out or did they just like shave them?
They were gone. This whole brow portion was gone.
Skin and everything.
Mhm.
Okay. Because I'm like, they just out here shaving the eyebrows now, like
No.
That's why I was like, I
The
have
whole-
to clarify.
The whole skin and the fuzzy part was gone.
Okay.
The fuzzy part.
Yes, the fuzzy.
I had to get clarification on that because I'm like, we just out here shaving eyeballs on top of
Shaving
killing
eyeballs?
people. Okay.
Shaving eyeballs?
Shaving eyebrows. Shaving the eyebrows.
So some of
We're
the
just out here waxing.
whereas Chandler says, "Whoopah."
Yes.
So some of the citizens wondered if their government was actually covering it up. So a lot of Russians were saying that it was a cover up. Sam,
I mean,
you're a huge...
the track record is
Right.
not so good.
This is where we come into the radioactivity.
Yes.
The government and the discovery of some of the hikers' clothing contains traces of radiation, which was more than the usual amount. Typically, your clothes have a certain amount of radiation. It doesn't matter how far you try to get away from it. It's in cell phones, microwaves. Yes.
I feel like the correct amount of radiation a person or clothing a person has should be 0.
It should be. However, it's not. Because a patient of mine at my old dental clinic used to get very angry at me and say, I don't want x-rays. And would hold the phone next to her boobs. And I looked at her and I go, so you are okay with getting breast cancer, but you don't want me to take a x-ray of her teeth? She goes, what? And I said, there's more radiation in that cell phone than there is in the digital x-rays I'm taking of your teeth. There's more radiation in a microwave or any of those air tags. There's more radiation in that than there is in a dental x-ray. She actually did research on it and came back and she goes, I'll take those x-rays now. And I was like, I bet you would.
Thanks for coming to your senses. Let's do this shit.
Right. So normal radiation is like 0.00003. It's very, very minute. It's very small. You can't pick it up on a monitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, these traces were above the normal level, way above the normal level.
Of course they were.
The radioactivity on the clothes could be explained by the fact that 2 years before, there had been a nuclear incident known as the Kaishim incident. One of the hikers on the trip have lived in the contaminated zone.
Of course they did.
Another had helped with the cleanup. Despite this, many of the Russians continued to suspect that the government was... Despite this, many of the government was thinking that they were hiding something. Theories about what happened include Yetis, KGB, and the CIA. Of course, Yetis.
Because that's honestly probably would have been the most logical one out of those three.
So, their investigation finally concluded, years later, that the murder deaths were considered natural causes. Not themselves or anything supernatural, but nature. Do you want me to keep
Chest
this?
trauma.
Just has your eyes plucked out naturally.
I get to that.
2 cases of chest trauma,
Mhm.
1 catastrophic head wound,
Mhm.
and then
Their eyes plucked out.
with, eyes plucked out, like tongue ripped out. Like, these are not natural causes.
Right. We see that. So in 2019, the Russian government reopened the incident.
Of course.
Andrei Kurikov, the prosecutor who led the new investigation, proposed a slab avalanche theory. And this is where it gets kind of tricky. The slope on which the hikers planted their tent wasn't steep enough to suggest there was a traditional avalanche. But Andre theorized that it was still possible for a slab of snow to slide out over the tent. So to come down the mountain and slide over the tent. This may have caused the hikers to fear that a larger avalanche was imminent, and it could explain why they would cut their way out of the tent and run away without grabbing boots. Makes sense. Right?
It's plausible.
Andre then speculated that the hikers ran to what they thought was a safe distance from the tent, started a fire, and dug a snow den. Because the fire and the snow den were relatively close to each other.
That's also plausible.
The snow den could have collapsed from the outside to the inside on the hikers who were inside, causing severe injuries found on the bodies in the area. Scavenging animals, because it is quite common. I did look at the animals in the area. Vultures are common, as well as 3 different types of bears. Large cat-like animals that are not bobcats, but they are large cat-like animals, as well as other carnivorous creatures. So they could have eaten the missing eyes and forcibly removed her tongue.
Yeah, they're fleshy and delicious to animals.
Magically
But the
delicious.
random eyebrow.
That's what gets me, is the random eyebrow.
Like the rest of it, that, chest, the chest trauma, from the weight of the snow.
Right.
Understandable. The head trauma, though, is...
Because
head trauma...
the snow could have solidified.
True.
Because of the cold, it could have turned to ice on the outside, and when it caved in, they could have had ice chunks land on their heads. And their
But then I feel like all of them would have the same
injuries,
injuries.
unless one was under the other.
But
See,
there's still
I
the
want to know how like big the snow den was to cause that kind of like skull trauma.
It was
Right.
probably about a little bit smaller than my room. So it's probably smaller than
okay.
Cindy's room. Not same truck on my street. Probably smaller than Cindy's room.
So like the size of the laundry room?
Probably, yeah.
But was
For-
it tall enough to actually like
Cave in.
if when it collapsed like that's a lot of force.
Mm-hmm.
so like we figured out like how possibly wide it was, but how deep down was it though?
I don't know.
Like
Because most of the den had collapsed
so many
upon
questions.
Right. The den had collapsed upon itself. So when they finally dug out the hikers, most of the snow had melted. So there wasn't a bunch underneath them. After Andre released his theory, 2 researchers in Switzerland decided to test the theory. So in 2021, John Guam and Alexander Puzrin published a paper in Communications, Earth, and Environment that used a math model to determine if a slab avalanche was possible given the location of the tent and the weather conditions.
I mean, makes sense.
This way, whether it actually happened or not was another matter.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Puzrin was noted saying, "We do not claim that we now have a final explanation of what happened." So he couldn't even confirm it. However,
Yeah.
Jim McElwain, a professor of geohazards at Durham University, pointed out that a slab avalanche usually occurs at steeper inclines, like the ones at the Sierra Mountains, like we just discussed with the Donner Pass.
I mean, and with him teaching and having, his background that he does,
Mhm.
it would make sense that he would know these things.
Right, because he's an expert in geohazards and thermodynamics.
Yeah. And he also teaches it. So
yes. He says it's unlikely, but it doesn't stop it being the best explanation. I have no idea what else it could be.
Yeah.
The mountain pass was later named Dyatlov Pass in memory of the hiking group. In many languages, the incident is now referred to as the Dyatlov Pass incident. However, the incident occurred 5,600 feet away on the eastern slope of Collet Cycle. A prominent rock outcrop in the area now serves as a memorial for the group, and it is located 1,600 feet to the southeast of the actual site of the camp. So
probably because it's a safer location.
Right. So just to show you the pictures, these were the last 3 photos that they were able to find in the camera roll. I just sent it to the group. So
okay.
The first photo is all pictures that were taken earlier that year of them. The second photo is them preparing for their trek into the mountains. And the third photo is their tent, which was actually found. So the photo rolls, they were able to find the cameras, and it's really eerie because they took photos of themselves, like enjoying and having a good time and having meals and building the tent and everything like that.
Up until that point, they were having a good time.
Right. And then
it just went south very quickly.
Right before they were having meals, that's when the camera stopped taking any photos. So there's no actual photos of anything that happened to them.
Probably because the cold made the camera stop working.
Probably. But that is the Donner Party and Dyatlov Pass. Bunch of spooky shit, if you ask me.
definitely got questions about the Dyatlov Pass, though.
I know.
Questions that'll probably never get answers to.
Sam has this confused, perplexed look on her
I'm
face.
reading, looking up some other sources, because apparently the government, released, like, all of their information about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little surprising for them, but...
Yeah, and it was... The only way to access it, though, it was... The source was from a article on a site called Spiked that you can only now access via the Wayback Machine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, by the late 1980s, all the Dyatlov files had been released in some manner.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
There were a lot that I found that were stating that there were speculations that one of them went cuckoo for fucking Cocoa Puffs and just started to go after everybody, and that's why they left the tent, tried to cut themselves out.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain the radiation.
Right, which they said that one of them had been exposed to radiation because he was in the blast zone.
And then the other person
And
was
to be
helping
fair-
cleaning it. So if they're producing radiation and they're in close quarters with the other ones, it's going to make them radioactive.
Yep.
Okay, I must have missed that when I was in the bathroom.
Probably.
Oh,
More than likely.
so to be fair, could we talk about the conspiracy theories?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Oh, so it looks like one is like the kind of theory that it was a cover-up for a Soviet mine exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And, hold on, let me kind of digest and read this. Alleges testing of radioactive weapons, based on the kind of radioactivity on the clothing. And there are some claims of it being they were attacked by a Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one's my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yetis all the way.
Yes.
It's the cousin to Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And the cousin to the skunk ape.
Yep.
I am curious though, but why did the one guy just have his knuckle in his mouth though?
Maybe he was like biting it like to keep quiet or something,
Mhm.
or like something happened. He was like, and then I could see, was he the one in the snow den?
He was not in the snow den. He was next to the fire.
He was
and
next to the fire.
He had burns
Next to the
on
fire.
1/3 of his body.
Like he fell into the fire?
It sounds like he fell into the fire. So he probably was holding onto his knuckle to not scream, because there are large predatory animals in that area. So he's probably
That makes
trying to
sense.
keep quiet as to not. And we do have
In a
these
blizzard.
sharpened teeth off to the side, which are meat rippers, because we are carnivorous people. Most of us anyways. I don't know. No dissing any vegans or anything. But I'm just saying, we do have sharpened canines, right? Some of them
Yeah.
are sharp enough where you could actually bite through your skin.
And some people's canines are sharper than others too.
Correct. What?
Yeah, no, that was I was curious because I was like, that's one of the things that doesn't make sense is just his knuckle in his
He
mouth.
just bit off his whole knuckle. So yeah, they said that it was just the
Yeah.
whole. So I'm assuming that it was either the first part. Okay.
Yeah, because I was thinking like the knuckle here, and I was just
Mm-mm.
like, how the hell did you manage to bite that off?
I think he bit through the skin and the cartilage because he didn't realize, because he was hypothermic. When you're hypothermic, you have
And
neuropathy.
you couldn't feel it.
Right. So you can't actually feel your extremities. So when he was biting into his hand, he didn't realize how hard he was biting until much
It's too
later.
late.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Much
that
ouch.
makes sense now.
Mm-hmm.
What other conspiracy theories have you found?
The Yeti one is my favorite. The Soviet cover-up of the like radioactive KGB experiments is always a good time. Uh, so many articles from the Wayback Machine that are
Yeah.
no longer like actually available.
Of
Because there
course.
was because I'm interested to like the one guy who survived. I'd like to hear from him.
Oh, I'm sure he had like all kinds of survivor's guilt.
He did. There was an interview, but
Yeah, I see a picture of like Yudin hugging Dabinia prior to leaving the expedition. I don't know. I always go for the supernatural explanation because I think it's more interesting rather than the freak weather ones.
I don't think it was all weather.
Oh, definitely not. Yes, the weather played a large chunk of it, but I mean, they went hiking in January and hit a blizzard. Like the weather is obviously going to play a part of that.
Obviously.
I think more supernatural nonsense happened on this one than in the Donner Party.
Mm-hmm.
The Donner Party was almost exclusively like one bad decisions, and
It was just a
two the weather.
chain of events. Donner
Like,
Party was just a whole chain of events of bad decisions.
you get a bad decision and you get a bad decision.
And then everybody ends up dead.
Yep. Dun dun dun. So that being said, I am spinning the wheel for the next.
The next contestant on
The
discussion roulette.
Pandemonium. Yes. It keeps pausing though. I put both your names on there twice. So that way it would have 4 sections instead of 1/2 of 1/2. Emily, you are the picker wheels chosen for the next
Oh, boy.
slaughter. Oh my god, look at Fluffy.
Her little Grinch feet. But no, that's supposed to be a scratcher box. She sleeps in it. It's her if I fits I sits box.
Right.
No idea what you said, Em.
It's her emotional support box. Don't make fun of her.
So
This is true.
this was very educational for me because I learned more about the Donner Party than I ever did before, and I lived in California, and I found out that they no longer teach about the Donner Party in public schools.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
I feel like that's important, and that's why people end up getting stuck in the Donner Pass.
I mean, that along with the bunch of bad decisions. Yes.
All the bad decisions.
All the bad decisions.
I went to the dark side of the internet again. I'm gonna come back.
Oh god.
Went a few clicks too far.
Don't use the mouse for the way they're telling you to use it. It's not how you use a dead mouse.
If it doesn't
I'm
have
gonna
a
go-
flare base, don't use it.
Paul, on that note, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay spooky.
Computer ID, so.
And we'll see y'all next time.
Woo!
Okay, bye.
Bye!
Bye.
Next time on the Pandemonium Witches.
The reason that the Glenfiddich house is considered to be haunted is that they think that Colonel Burt is still hanging around. They hear voices, they hear shuffling of feet, they hear and feel like his presence is still lingering. There was a diary, and they would find an impression in the bed as if someone had just been laying there.
Miss Cat? Yes, love. Why does that man have a thing sticking out of his head?